All right, let's talk about Saturn. Now, Saturn is like, people got a whole little bad thing about Saturn. I don't know why. Maybe because of the beings that been utilizing this Saturn energy. You know what I'm saying? And been putting that shit on Earth on some other shit, making people think, just putting people in vortexes. So, see, look, one thing about a vortex is this: if you have a certain being, because I created a lot of vortexes, but if you have a certain being out here creating vortexes that you know that's not right for you, the whole point of a being creating a vortex is to obtain souls, so it gives them more power. Now, the more people, the more humans that die up under your conscious vortex, is the more powerful and the more energy you. All right, let me give you an example. Tupac Shakur, he's a rapper, right? Now, he died. 20 years later, he's still the hottest rapper, right? Now, Tupac created a vortex for people to be wrapped up in. So the more people who died thinking about Tupac and how much he impacted their own life, because vortex is made up of energy, frequencies, and influence. Like, if these are things, and a vortex, this is what a vortex is made of. It needs that to spin. Like, it needs that to create a sphere. You know what I'm saying? So it needs energy, a frequency, and it needs an intent behind it, and that creates the vortex. Like, it creates the vortex. You know what I'm saying? So it's like anything in that vortex field will make it bigger. Now, if I was to create a vortex, right, everybody who participate in that vortex will make it bigger, right? The influence become bigger, right? Then it gets bigger, right? Then once people start dying, that was actually doing. This is why religion is so big, because people be dying for their religions. You think that the being that's sitting behind that vortex is huge, nigga. That shit could take over the fucking world. You know what I'm saying? But I'm giving you a small scale, like Tupac and shit like that. More people died doing shit with Tupac what it did, and more people thinking about Tupac, and it just creates a big ass vortex to the point that it's a vortex. Now, don't ever think it ain't no being out there controlling these vortexes. You know what I'm saying? You can create a vortex. Yeah, you. Human beings are one of the most creative people ever. You know what I'm saying? Listen, some of the most powerful people on Earth is only there because they created a large vortex. You know what I'm saying? Now, Saturn is going to help you with your vortex. This is something that the moon won't. Just because the moon and Saturn was threw out from the same rotation of the dice, doesn't mean they don't carry the same traits, though. Saturn went out. The moon went out first, then Saturn went out. So this is why the moon will appear closer to the sun than Saturn. And put it this way, it's like, say the sun actually threw these out. You know what I'm saying? The moon landed closer. The rotation jumped out, and then the Saturn went further. It had more energy impact behind it than the moon did. But it's from the same rotation throw. So this is why it's the 28 to 30 years for the rotation. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like Saturn is more than what people think. And I'm trying to steer people away from even the work hard aspect of it. Like, oh, wherever Saturn at is where you have to work hard at and shit. I'm trying to steer. With this video, I'm gonna steer people away from that. I'm about to give people a whole other perspective on Saturn. You know what I'm saying? And with Saturn, it's like, you know what I'm saying, as far as it helping with the vortex and shit like that, Saturn can help enlarge whatever you have going on, because all the planets go by order. You know what I'm saying? even in your everyday life. Like, people could be like, how come I can't tap into my Saturn or tap into my Mars or Jupiter, and how come I only know how to express my sun sign, but we have all these other signs? But what's good about knowing these other planets if I don't know what role they play in my life? And then you got a lot of astrologers out here who will put you in a vortex saying that, oh, Saturn, wherever Saturn at is your karma. Wherever Saturn at is where you got to work at. That's a small Earth scale to what Saturn is about. And Saturn really don't give a fuck about that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not even about that with Saturn. It's just the way it get played out on Earth, it appears that way. And when you got a lot of suckers on Earth, which is 95% of the world, putting out their own perceptions because they being took over by beings utilizing the Saturn energy, we get a lot of misconfused and naive people just dying every day or just doing stuff every day, fulfilling someone else's vortex, fulfilling someone else's big ass balloon. Just look at a vortex like a balloon. The more influence get put in there, the larger it become. But if you was the person who made that balloon, you control that. You control that whole sphere of reality that vortex is creating. So it's basically like that's how they say God and the devil is in a fight for souls, because you want to say it really is. It's about Jupiter and Saturn, Satan and Jesus. That's really what it's about. And that's a program. But for y'all to understand it, I'm going to give y'all an example. It's like Saturn is going to see how much y'all, because Saturn is also earthly, more earthly. You know what I'm saying? Jupiter is more air, more airy, more air. So we dealing with two thinkers, but we dealing with polar opposites. So that's how it play out. So you got Jupiter here, who's gonna see if you're more yin, and you got Saturn here that's gonna see if you're more yang. Basically, that's the. So say you got beings, say, because it's not, people make it seem like it's Jesus and Satan, and then once they learn that came from Jupiter and Saturn and learn all the science behind that, then you can move on to the next level and see it like, okay, well, now I see that Jesus and Satan is not just one person, because basically they try to say it's one person, but once you learn that it's Jupiter and Saturn, you can't just, that's just one planet, and you can't equate them to people. So then it's a lot of beings that utilize both of these energies for their I can't say it's right or wrong, but it is what it is. Now, you can say Jupiter is more for the inside, which is the yin. How much wisdom, how much knowledge you willing to learn on Earth before you die from an Earth perspective, and that energy will go to Jupiter. Then Saturn is how much time you willing to exude of yourself to obtain any material gain here on Earth, to make you feel satisfied on Earth from an earthly perspective. Then that's that. So that's a larger scale of it. Once we start getting down to the diggity down of it, you understand that money and all that shit and all that other shit come from Saturn. From Saturn. It don't come from Saturn, but the energy is reciprocated from a Saturn prospect, which it takes time to get a lot of money, or it takes time, because what's a job? It takes your time away from you in replace of a check. You know what I'm saying? That's a Saturn thing, like, you know what I'm saying? Which you have people out here who are prophets and to think or go on the street corner and preach, and they get paid that way. That's a yin way, another way that you just received something from your knowledge you're giving out. So you see what I'm saying? Like, I need to take people away from that whole religious, and then that whole scary shit, and then that whole Saturn make you work hard shit. No, it's just energies, man. It's just energies. Like that's it. Like, you don't. And then if you got a certain energy heavy in your chart, and then you got the wrong perception about it, it's gonna fuck you up, because that energy is gonna be making you do a whole bunch of shit that you gonna be thinking like, man, this is the fuck I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna fuck you up, man. You gotta work with your energies. You gotta know your chart. You gotta know what's going on. You gotta know what to do and not to do. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way. Or you just gonna be here and die, or be here and live and give your energy into some other motherfucker's vortex. And I'm here to tell you that these other motherfucking vortexes ain't where you wanna be. It ain't where you wanna be, man. We done did that for 2,000 or something years. We did that the whole age of Pisces. We had the whole sleep and now awakening stage. We in the awakening stage now, man. Later for that shit. And that's what Saturn is here to let us know. You know what I'm saying? It takes time to learn. It takes time for that shit. You know what I'm saying? You have your first Saturn return. You're going to have your second Saturn return. And you're going to have your third Saturn return, if you make it. But throughout these returns, Saturn is going to let you know reality. It's going to let you know the deal. And your perception on it is the only thing that's going to fuck you up. So if you just clear out all that other shit, that Saturn make you work hard and all that shit. Saturn is time. So just look at it like that. Anywhere you got Saturn in your chart is what you need to take time on. And if you put the time in it, it's easy. Like other planets and then a little bit of Saturn, depending on where it's placed, it might make you feel like, I don't got the time to waste on this shit. So that might make it harder. And that just goes back to like the Jupiter video. It's depending on the placement, is going to be whether it's easy or harder to do it than other people. That's it. Flight boss, bitch.